on Twitch expecting to pull it down and put it on YouTube later. So I don't know how this is going to go. I've decided to do a video just fully setting up from start to finish a map. This might not be too much talking, but I'm sure I'll find something to talk about. I might reply to people who come into chat if that happens. But I'm going to make the Drowned Temple map from Curse of Strahd. I used that I was using Fantasy Grounds when that popped up. So I've never needed it in Foundry, but I want it in there for my next campaign. And I thought it'd be a good chance to show from start to finish the setting up of a map. So I don't even have a scene for this yet. I've not even got the creatures set up. I think we'll have to certainly, I don't think an Alep is in the SRD, so we'll have to make an Alep. So let's go in. I'm going to create a new scene. There's only one scene, but I'll still make a folder for it because I'm a bit weird like that. And in there. Background image I've already got in my locations folder. This is a map that I think Assiduous made from the Curse of Strahd community. Assiduous is the creator of the interactive Tome of Strahd. So I always like just to load the map and actually see what it looks like before we start trying to sort of grid. Now I don't think that the map is gridded by default, which I prefer. Let's make it gridless for a second and see. Yeah, it's a gridless map. That suits me. The first things, I always spend an appropriate amount of time actually sorting our grid out. Because what you don't want to do is set half the map up and then realise you need to shift it around. So let's have a look. Beds are always, there's no beds here. Beds are always a great reference because you don't want a bed to be 10 foot long, do you? But you want it to be more than 5 foot. So if a scale for a map is correct, I always like to look and see, is a bed about 1.5 squares long? Check doorways. The problem with this map being quite dark is it's not easy to sort of identify. Let's hop in, go into red grid line mode. So if possible, and again, not every map is the same, especially amateur maps, you kind of want a doorway to be in a position where characters can just fit through it. So that door looks good. Those doors look good. The pillars obviously aren't centered perfectly in tiles, but pillars being about 5 foot makes sense. That's not ideal. Now I'm going to assume that those are meant to be, but if those are 10 foot wide corridors. And again, depending on your group, sometimes this won't matter. I mean, we can see here, there's no way I'm going to get each of those 4 pillars to fit perfectly inside squares and still maintain a 5 foot scale. You know, if I square that top left one off, the others are now all off. Sometimes you don't get the perfect map. That's fine. The time it really annoys me, and it happens with official maps sometimes, when I've shown you things like maps for the old Bone Grinder from Curse of Strahd, or the Selenka Pass map, whenever you have on an official map like a blowout of different floors of the same building, there's a couple, I think the tower in Argynvostholt is one, where the different levels of the map don't sit on the same grid scale. So if you get the grid aligned for the rest of, say, Argynvostholt's roof, you then, by being on the same map, have really shitty grid placement for higher floors of the tower. So when that happens, sometimes I would be tempted to even just pull out, crop those floors and make them their own scenes. Like, look here on this one. Perfect 5 foot grid in here, but it's going to make it awkward to move in and out of this one. Given that I'm not going to be running this in this campaign, I'm not too concerned about this. But yeah, trying to find that sweet spot of how you want it setting up is always ideal for you to do. I am going to leave this as is. I might move that up a little bit more for the doors. But see, that breaks that door. Whereas if this door's broken, that one's now perfect. It's an art. You'll have a feel for how your group plays or how vocal your group are about complaining about certain things or aspects. I'm going to go with this. So that is done. Then we're going to start walling. Oh, no, we're not. I mentioned this in my other video. I like to change my background colours to black. Because then as my group are exploring, they've got no idea where the edge of the canvas is, how far they can travel in any direction. No windows in this place to mess around with, so that's a bit easier, at least. I find windows really faffy. Remember, if you hold down Control, then it automatically goes to place a new wall at the end of where you've put it. If you hold down Shift instead, it will let you sort of high precision place it. There's no hidden doorways here, so I don't have to worry too much about where I put it. I'm always very suspicious of where you have your wall lines end. If you have the wall lines I'm putting them quite far out on this map because the artist has gone through the effort of putting, a transition from stone to earth. But if we had hidden doorways here, let's say this alcove I'm doing now has a hidden doorway in, we wouldn't want that to be visible. So if I suddenly did this stretch of wall mapped really, really conservatively like that, my players would notice that and they'd think, the wall's really thin here. Is there something hidden? And then they'd be like, oh, I'd just like to inspect this wall. One of my players did this at the Amber Temple. He clearly suspected, out of character, there was a hidden chamber. And there was, but he was very specific about where he wanted to look and investigate, and he investigated near enough everywhere except the hidden alcove. I was quite satisfied to confuse him by saying, nope, we don't find anything. Where exactly are you looking? I'm looking specifically here. Okay. This is quite a simple map to wall as well. Some of them can be so complex. I did a video of me mapping out Hrakhamar from Tomb of Annihilation. And a lot of people complain about, are there converters or are there exporters from Roll20? Because I just can't stand the idea of mapping all my dungeons out. I actually quite enjoy it. I honestly think there's something a little therapeutic about it. If I wasn't doing this video now, I'd be watching something or listening to something on the other screen and very happily working away through this. I was mapping some things up for my Curse of Strahd the other day, and I have been re-watching The Tudors, which is enjoyable, but really historically bad in terms of accuracy. It's the same guy who did Vikings, and I know Vikings got a lot of flack for how historically inaccurate it was, but it's only on this most recent rewatch of The Tudors that I've realised how much overlap in cast there is between the two shows. He's obviously cast a lot of people who he knows in Vikings after he's done The Tudors. Oh, we have several viewers already. Hello. Yeah, my reasoning for the walls here is it's roughly hewn out of the earth by, tribal people long ago. I'm not going to feel bad about how I do it. I might revisit this section of wall. Let's have a think how we want this to work. So, yeah, I'm going to make that a ethereal wall here. So it looks like wall, but they can pass through it. And I will do the same here. I'll carry on with this for now. And then as my players swim through this later, Right, so I want to go for ethereal. And I'm going to do the same here. So as a player describes they're swimming down, they will never know that's there. And what we'll do when we've finished this is we'll obviously swap into player mode and go for a little walk through. I'm going to try and do as much as I can without wasting your time on this. I'm going to try and do all the ambience. I might not get all the ambient sounded, mainly because I don't think it's fun on a stream for you to sit there staring at a Foundry screen while I go off and download resources. But we'll get a lot of it done. Okay, those are our exterior walls. We have plenty of interior walls to do as well. I will occasionally have to refer off to the Google Doc for this place as well, just to remind myself which doors are locked. I remember these alcoves with traps, but I can't remember exactly what the trap is. So I will have to refresh myself. I used a terrible program before Dungeon Draft came out. It was on Steam. Some RPG dungeon map maker. It was the first thing I ever downloaded on Steam. It confused me by not going into a games category. It went into an apps category instead, which I didn't even know Steam had. I was very confused. Oh, yeah, we need to do this as well. I'm always clicking pings by accident. I'm sure you're all the same in your games. So I made this quite a significant location in my game. My ranger essentially got her character-driven quest from the spirit here and got what was effectively a scaling artifact weapon. Very critical role, I know, but I've liked the idea of my characters each having something which is scaling up with them throughout the adventure, particularly with being milestone level in Curse of Strahd. It looks like all the walls, we'll find out as we go through. Do I want these pillars? I'm not going to map these pillars out. Or am I? Let's map it out and see. I can always delete it if we don't like how it looks afterwards. But I am a big fan of... Yeah, do you know what? My players will be coming down here with... Well, it's in my players. Let's zoom in. I've got a better way of doing this. We can do this a bit more finite. A bit more refined. So because your players will... Oh, this is really tight, isn't it? How big do I want to do this? What I'm basically thinking is this could very well be one of the first absolute no light locations your players come into. And it's also got that whole isolated under a lake spookiness. They're very likely to be coming in here with torches. I think it is a location where us messing about with the light is going to be really worth it. So I might get rid of these afterwards, given there's not really any combat in this room, unless they've managed to somehow really piss the Aleph off or go kiting things around. We'll have a look and we'll see how that is. I also think I'm not going to put a terrain wall around the whole plinth, but certainly around the statue. I will. I won't do the whole shape of the statue though. I might just do something like this. We'll see how that looks. That might get changed as well. Oh shit! This room. Oops. Have I missed walls out there? These are big enough that I'm tempted to just do these as terrain walls, as regular walls. Again, when we come walking down into the temple with, torches, if you're using other modules such as torch, and if you don't have dark vision players, which is a treat, this could really be freaking them out when we come in. I'll do that at the end. I'll show you what I think it'll sound like, what it'll look like at the end coming in. So coming up, we've got plinths. Think of some sort of water effect I can put on there. Oh, I didn't do that ideally. Now, I feel like these are 2 doors. Different people handle things differently with these. I know a lot of people would do this as 2 doors next to each other. Some people would do it as 1 large door. Do whichever suits you. I'm fairly certain, if I remember rightly, this is actually, in the PDF, a gate. Sure, it's a rusted gate and just jump, in which case I'll just do it as a locked door if you have to list up. Let's have a look. Oh, it's full of edits. Have a look. Offering chamber. There we go. In the northwest corner of the room is a barred iron gate. There's no mechanism for opening it on this side. So a barred iron gate, that suggests to me it is a swing and open thing, not like a portcullis that's dropped. I'm going to put it as 1 door. 1 big door. This door, yes. Don't like that until you update it, you can't do the door state, so I have to then come back and say the door is locked. I don't have any sound effects to hand, but because I have ambient doors enabled, this is where if I had the sounds ready, I could, instead of using the usual door sounds, I could get creaking, slamming, iron door, open and close sound effect and load them in here for the ambience, for the aesthetic. We have doors here. I believe that the PDF says these doors are all locked but are absolutely pathetic and rotted old wood that the players can near enough push open. I'll double check that at the end and change it if need be. Yep, that one's a door. And it's also locked. I feel like there's a body in this room normally. We'll add that in a minute. I can't remember what sort of door these are. I don't remember the door over here. Right, I don't remember. I don't remember this door. When I ran this place, I made my own map for it in that program I mentioned. If this has always been here and hasn't been amended later, I didn't realise I had it that it could only get to this chamber by swimming through. I might have made this place much more difficult for my players than it needed to be. Oops. I saw that extra door and thought, huh. And I could be copying one of the doors that I've done and just copy and paste it, pasting it and rotating it. But I'm doing it this way. Locking all the doors. I still don't think this door was here. I'm going to speak to the person who made this place. I think it was Assiduous who made this place. And just say, did you add an extra door in because people were drowning here? Because I don't remember this. Okay. In terms of light, there shouldn't really be any light here. It's an old, drowned tunnel. It should kind of just be relying on what your players are bringing. I can't remember if a water weird is SRD. Where are we? Actors. Is a water weird SRD? No. If I don't have a water weird, I don't have an elemental. We have swarms of quippers in here, don't we? Are quippers SRD? Oh, a top-down token. We'll go for it. I think it was 2 swarms of quippers in here. You might want to have them be invisible until your players notice them while they're swimming. We had in here that there is a body in one of these rooms. I kind of want to say this one. Let me go to my items and assets. I've made quite a library of items and assets, so these are not standard things. Where did I put it? It's tokens, items and assets. Yeah, there we go. Bodies. What do we have in the way of bodies? Okay, well, it's just a guard who's been killed. But these are all very alive. Do I have skeletons? Or it might be bones. Modular humanoid... we don't have a Tarrasque in here. What sort of dead body do I want in here? Someone who's been rotten away. Oh, good grief. Mr. Skeletal is very large. So again, I always like to look at how are they with the scale. If this table is just over 10 foot tall, and we want a body to be about that big, like someone who stands up at a sink, no, a little bit larger. That's probably about right. Yeah. I'm just going to have a corpse against the wall. Do I want any extra little bits with it? Up to you, depends on what assets you have available. Do I have a weapons? Do I have any rusty old weapons, like a broken sword? I've got a broken halberds, broken arrows. What gives a broken... oh, a lance. These lances as well. A no broken sword? Broken shield. I know he's not got any armour on. Yeah, we're gonna put a little broken shield next to this guy. If I remember rightly, this guy was a bit of a rogue sort of character anyway. I don't want it to be so perfectly next to him. Let's just throw a random rotation in. Just extra little bits of fluff. I don't know why that... don't know what that table's faded. All the rooms are partially submerged, aren't they? So you can see this is mostly underwater, this room. I'm going to look and see if we can work out anything we can do to reflect that other than just dripping water ambience. There are traps here. Let me remind myself from the PDF what the trap information is. Let's have a look. Trapped corridor. Well, do you know what else we can be doing? This is what I normally like to do for my places. Journal entries. I'm going to go create folder, Drowned Temple. Because what I don't want to do is when I run Curse of Strahd again, might be over a year, when I come to do this, I don't want to have to be coming back to this tab. So I told you this video, I do a full setup, so some parts might be a bit more exciting than others, I'm afraid, but let's head down. We've got area T1. The vestibule. So I'm going to go new entry, T1 vestibule. Don't worry, I'm going to copy and paste. I'm not going to make you sit here and listen to me typing out everything. And another reason I like doing this is, I mean, normally, to be honest, I type these out. When I did this for the Amber Temple, this is how I learnt the Amber Temple. I forced myself to not copy and paste blocks with it, but to type it all out. And it went from being a place that I'd kind of been keeping in the back of my mind all campaigns, having to learn, that now I could probably describe what's in each room of the Amber Temple for you, including which dark powers are in which sarcophagi. Any other checks in here? I just like to bold my checks just so that when you're looking at it at a glance, you can see, remember what goes on in here. That's saved. Something I like to do, which again, you certainly don't have to do, by standard, I like to put where possible, my journal entries just outside the walls so that they're not blocking your vision in combat. And oh no, there used to be the old hex grid colour selector. Now, it looks like either a new version or in a module, it's all pick your own colours. I'm gonna have to remember what the. Tell you what, I'll do. This is me being quite sad. Sorry. Let me jump to. I have my Death House ones on. Nope. I like consistency. I'm sorry. Let me just look at one of my Amber Temple scenes. See what colour I used for them. 8040. That's a number that's going to get drilled into my mind in the future, I think. So journal entries, Lake Temple vestibule, drag it out, size 75. There we go. Very sad, I know. So, our players don't see them by default, remember. There is information about the Alep in here. I might do that as a separate note. Our offering chamber. In fact, we'll be adding in the Alep actions in each area note, which makes sense. So let's have a look. T2, offering chamber. Okay, so there's no DCs in here. Oh, there we go, DC 16 religion check. And then because we have these Alep visions in each room, now the way the Google Doc lists it is stuff about the room, stuff about the Alep encounter, stuff about the room. So I'm going to just change that and add in all the room stuff together. And then I'm going to put the Alep encounter. I'm going to make the Alep encounter section of each room. So, oh, it doesn't like that, does it? There we go, let's try and do it that way. Now, I can't remember how I used to do this in the past. There used to be a different way I highlighted my writing in a quote block. I haven't done it in a while, so I can't remember how to do it off the top of my head. T2, offering chamber. Oh no, that's going to be an annoying thing now. Remember, until I get that hex code memorized. T2, offering chamber, size 75. There we go. Our underwater, so there is 2 swarms of quippers. They are half starved. Now I'm not really sure if we're meant to take that to mean we're at half health. CR1, I don't feel like that's inappropriate for having me at full health. Underwater passage. Okay. No DC in there. That's a straightforward one. Now I think this was FF8040. There we go, that's good. Next up is a broken fountain with a water weird. Let's have a look. Does it say the underwater passage, the room's devoid of light? At least this room doesn't mention a door out of the room. I definitely think that's been added to the map afterwards. Broken fountain. Any DC? Nope, no DC in here. When we've finished the room, we'll go through and I'll add in creatures. I mean, I'll do that at the end, mainly because you might know how to do that, and that might be a part of the video that you're just not remotely interested in seeing me build monsters from scratch. But I will do that in this video. Yeah, we know what a weird is. Trapped corridor. So remind me what it was. Oh yeah, it shoots poison dart traps out. Now, how are we going to handle that? So let's have a look. So DC 15 dex save. On a fail, taking 2d4. I mean, we could make an NP. We could make a hidden creature there that essentially attacks the player and forces that save. So we'll try to set that up in a minute. I've not done that before for a trap. We'll see how it goes. T5, trapped corridor. I'm also going to set for myself a reminder. Levers are trapped. Solid fill, bright red, and then invisible, lock it. Visible only to myself, not to my players. Let's see what we have next. T5A, the priest quarters. This room can say, oh, that's weird. It lists the rooms from the bottom up, then it does the corridor, then it starts at the top room. Very strange. So the priest's quarters, T5A, is the room that contains stone slabs and an Alep encounter. Yeah, my players really liked coming through here. They totally dug the whole thing about, the Alep clearly isn't outright attacking them. They loved getting all the visions. Because it was, when they came here, my group were still very much of the idea of, out of character, they were like, okay, yeah, I get that Strahd's probably baddie, because it's called Curse of Strahd, but in character, and kind of talking about it out of character, they were like, he's only been decent to us so far. He's done some bad stuff, but he seems to have reasons. I had to really kind of ramp up with my group. Here's some really shitty behaviour. They can go, oh, okay, no, he is a monster. Because until then, they were like, maybe he's like an anti-hero. Maybe we need to side with him. Oh no, the corpse is fresh. It is a fresh corpse that lies here. Okay. Let's get rid of our spooky Mr. Skeletal. And it is a fresh body. Unfortunately for all guards, I can do one that doesn't have a helmet on. Suppose he's not immediately recognisable as a guard. Him standing up is going to be about a 10-foot technique, slightly smaller. A bit better. Okay, let's have a look at a fresh corpse landed. There's a save involved. So T5B, common room, kitchen. A medicine check DC 12. And I always like to highlight looting. Put that onto here. Again, players can't see those blocks. T6, prayer room. So the trapped corridor. Trapped corridor doesn't mention this. This door is just continuing to vex me. Just scroll through the document. There is no mention of this door. Very odd. I mean, it makes sense there would be a door there because when it was a temple, they're not going to be like, oh, let's dig this roughly hewn corridor in the floor of the corner of this room that runs underground and then pops up here, and we'll make this room nice and all well masoned and carry a statue for it, a fountain for it. It makes sense there would be a doorway there. Just nothing says it. Next room is the prayer room, aka the gelatinous cube room. I was talking to someone a while ago who I think either they suggested or I suggested. I think it was them. Said they were thinking of putting something different in here. I feel like a gelatinous cube is a bit crap to be in here. What I like the idea of is, depending on your party's level, phase spiders. Because they're spiders. It ties into the Weaver a little bit. They're creepy. They're certainly more exciting than a gelatinous cube. I feel like a lot of a gelatinous cube's effectiveness is more like a low-level party environmental danger. One of my players, when he DM'd a campaign for me years ago, we were sneaking through the sewers below a city, and this always sticks in mind. And there was a big metal grate, like proper sewer bars underground at one point in the dark, and we could see like a helmet and a sword that were just floating in the air, and we're going clink, clink on like the bars. And I'm thinking, I don't know what this is. It was the first D&D campaign I played in. I thought, this is so strange. I was describing it, and it was armor that was inside the cube, and it started pushing through. Especially being new to D&D, me not knowing how slow they were, I was much more scared than I think I needed to be, actually. But yeah, this is what, suspended in the ceiling and then drops down, and then I imagine from that point, your players just walk backwards, kiting it and shooting it. This place is hardly combat heavy. They can't really stumble into another fight. It isn't like that horrible part of the Death House basement where you can trigger combat with a Grick, 4 ghouls, and 7 shadows. And if you really use, Expeditious Retreat, a Ghast. So I think if I were to run this again, I'll be doing phase spiders in here instead. And then our final room, in which there's quite a lot of stuff to put in here, is chapel. Quite a large amount of information in this one. Again, I think I'm going to move the treasure up above all the Alep encounter. Yep, the key is in the gelatinous cube room. I don't see anything else. DC 15. Okay, T7 Chapel. Hash. Fatal 4-0. Okay. Creatures. So we have a water weird, a gelatinous cube. I'm absolutely certain a gelatinous cube has to be SRD. It's like one of the iconic D&D. There we go. Ah, is that also a top-down token? I don't know why I've got top-down tokens in somewhere. It's an old relic of when I used to enjoy them. I would not be... That's actually really nice for a top-down token, man. I really like that. Kind of ruins the fact that you want it just to be invisible. You know, it's meant to be... I'm sure gelatinous cubes have that thing where, yeah, if they're not moving, you can't see... Oh, until they're attacking. Obviously, if it was full of floating stuff, you could. I believe it's suspended from chains in the ceiling. In like a... It's vague how that's described. So I imagine I would have that invisible until it fell from the ceiling. But we've got it there. I've just got a horrible shiver. My brother is here. Hello, brother. Watching the stream. What are you doing? We need the water weird as well. Add in round. I'm not specific enough that I try and use exactly the same colour across each area. But in here we have got a non-player character, water weird. I know it's water with a Y, isn't it? If I remember right. No, it is. I know a lot of people like monster blocks. I'm not particularly keen on the monster blocks module. 5E water weed. Let's have a look and see how it's set up. I know there's immoral ways of getting these imported. Obviously, I'd never do anything like that. Let's get it set up. So large, neutral, elemental. The CR of a water weird is CR3. I used to not bother with CR until I realised, shamefully recently, that the CR automatically adjusts all of the proficiencies on it. Oops. 38 AC, 58 HP. Stats are 17 strength, 16 dex, 13 con, 11 int, 10 wisdom, 10 charisma. Doesn't have any saving throws. Let's look at its damage resistances. Well, first of all, senses, blind sight, 30 foot. Passive perception is 10. It should pick that up anyway. Languages, understands Aquan but doesn't speak. Oh, is this immunity or resistance? Can't remember. Damage immunity, poison. This will be resistance then. Damage resistance, fire, and then non-magical. They didn't have. I'm really glad they added that in. I think that's all. No vulnerabilities. Oh, condition immunity. Yeah, I've missed condition immunity. So it is immune to being exhausted, grappled, paralyzed, poisoned, restrained, prone, and unconscious. Okay, let's add some features in. Invisible in water. Oh, can I copy from this site? There we go. I do like to go and get icons. I know it's painfully time wasting for you to watch on a video. Sorry, but it's just how I roll. Skills is always a handy one, just there. Sometimes I don't always pick ones that make sense. I just don't like to see it blank and empty. And waterbound. It dies if it leaves the water in which it is bound. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, action. So you got one attack. So this attack is constrict. I'm always, depending on your module setup and how you have your workflow and what you have displayed, be conscious of how much you have appearing in the action card in chat, because it can sometimes spoil things. Like, you know, if your players was a first time meeting a vampire spawn and the vampire spawn attacks and doesn't do damage but grapples them, the players might think, oh, phew, I've avoided taking damage there. If the chat card gives away that they can then make a bite attack against someone who's grappled, it'll affect, you know, it spoils it for players. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Let's have a look. A little bit of extra flavour of the attack in here. Constrict. Skills, targeting. We've changed all of these. It's all about constrict and use change. Makes sense, doesn't it? So this is a melee weapon attack. It's natural. It's not using a weapon, is it? It costs an action to make this attack. There's no condition to it. It attacks one creature. I used to make a mistake of thinking it was like 5-foot creature, as in a creature from 5 foot. The problem with that is it treats it like a whirlwind attack. You'll see it targets everybody around it. So it is one creature. Range, 10 foot. 10 foot maximum. It is not a recharge, and it is a melee weapon attack. When we pick that, it opens up the rest. Let's have a look here. +5 to hit. I always set it up and roll it and see if it needs any amendments. The damage formula on this is, let's have a look, 3d6 plus 3. Bludgeoning damage. Something I found recently, and I don't know if it's a problem with my modules and my workflow, but any attack that has an additional DC, so in this case, a save to be grappled. No, it's grappled automatically. That's handy. So with this, it's grappled automatically by the hit. If a target is medium or smaller, it is grappled. There's an escape DC, which we have to do on their turn, and it's pulled 5 feet towards the water weird. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained and the water weird tries to drown it. Okay, I'll still tell you what I was going to tell you anyway. Attacks that have a DC effect, like for example, a wolf biting someone and then a strength save to them being pulled prone. If they succeed the save, on mine it's half of the damage, as if it's like a fireball effect. It's obviously an error of how I've set that up, or one of my modules I need to investigate. So, let me roll this attack. Probably going to tell me it has to be targeting somebody, so I'm going to add it on twice and just have one target the other. So for you, make a constrict attack. Let's have a look. +3, +2, so it's, yeah, the +5 to hit has gone on correctly. It's got the proficiency and it's got the benefit from its strength. So happy days. I'm happy with that. The next thing we want to do is have some art. So let's have a look. 5e water weird. Can I get some good art? There's the standard art for a water weird. Or there's 2 different pieces of art. Yep, I'm going to go for the standard one. I'm going to save that into my creatures folder. same time, I'm going to jump to my go-to little token maker site. I'm going to make a token of it so I can do both at once. Save that. It all comes down to how and where you store your files as well. I'm a real stickler for file storage, but then by the time I realised how I wanted things to be in my Foundry, it was too late because everything was already tied together and things were like, you know, locked in. So that's been a real pain in the arse for me. So Water Weird, I can now update the art. Images, creatures, Water Weird. And then, I've still got it down as, oh no, I've got it large. Prototype token, do I want it to appear and being called a Water Weird? I might just call it Living Water, just to throw, or Animated Water, just to throw my group off. It might assume it's a water elemental. I do quite often think, if you don't know what it is, change the token. If your players don't know what it is, change the token name. Depending on your module setup, you might not see it anyway, or it might just show up in the combat tracker. And you don't want to go, oh, what's this art? Oh, never mind, I can see. This happened to me in my Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign. I'm a player, and player threw these strange ice slugs at us. Now, I thought they were like rime worms from, I think it was Rime of Frostmaiden or another module. Turns out, he just reskinned carrion crawlers. So they were called like ice worms, but in the chat card, when he made an attack, they showed up as carrion crawlers. So what art do we want to use for the tokens? So I've got images, tokens, circle style, and in here, Water Weird. Add in, update. Nothing else I want to change. Doesn't give off any light or anything. Add it in. And now I can add my Water Weird. And I can make that hidden until my players trigger the encounter. Now I feel like the Alep is quite a tediously complex stat block, isn't it? Let's have a look. Do you know what? I may as well do a full video, hadn't I? I said I'm going to do a full video. Let's also create an Alep. If you're watching this on Twitch and you know how to do this part, I'm sorry, maybe come back in 5 minutes. If you're watching on YouTube and you know how to do this, feel free to jump ahead. So AC is 13, Strength is 6, Dex is 17, Con is 10, Int is 17, Wisdom is 15, Charisma is 16. It is CR 5. Oh, I made it a player, haven't I? Idiot. Not a player character, it's a non-player character. Let's try again. So it's CR5, not CR51. Is it large? No, it's medium. It is lawful evil. I tend to not really. Where is the field showing me what type of creature it is? Alignment source. Has that moved? Clearly, this is something I need to look at changing. Let me change back to the default sheet for a second. Because obviously you have things that go off. There we go. So that's been updated, the creature type. I didn't see an option on where to do that. So let me just check. So I haven't done this in the Water Weird. That's important to know because you might have a lot of, I know auras, like some of the active auras, you can set to only affect creatures with a certain type. So now I've changed it to undead. Let's swap back to the other sheet I use and see if the word undead appears anywhere. That's where I just was. So let me look at my water weird. Is there a field there that I'm somehow missing? So maybe that's an issue with, or an out-of-date feature of this sheet that needs to be. It looks like it can show it once there's one there, but to the left of. Well, there we go. We've fixed it now anyway. So yeah, we were talking 6 strength, 17 dex, 10 con, 17 int, 15 whiz, 16 charisma. It now shows it's undead. Its alignment is evil. I hardly use alignment at all as a DM. This one has saving throws, int +6. And where is your one? Wisdom. Skills, it has perception +5, stealth +6. This one also has damage resistances. Well, first of all, it's perception. What is perception? That's dark vision 60. Languages. Languages that new in life. Well, in here, depending on how you're doing your campaign, you might have it. I know a lot of people have it that the old. There's the forest folk and the mountain folk, and they technically speak Druidic, and that might be because they're Druids. I find it weird to suggest that this entire people are all Druids. So I kind of called the Druidic like Old Balanoch, like the old language of Barovia back when it was called Balanoch. Do what you want. Call it Druidic. Call it Old Balanoch if you want. Depends on how you're going to have that all set up in your campaign. Any damage immunities? Yes, quite a few. Cold, necrotic, poison. Any resistances on top of that? Jesus Christ, near enough everything. So acid, fire, lightning and thunder. I thought it was thunder in 4e and became lightning in 5e. Didn't think lightning and thunder were separate damage sources now in 5e. Maybe I'm mistaken. No vulnerabilities. Condition immunities, yes. It is immune to being charmed, exhausted, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and restricted. Okay, it's got no effect on it. It has features, so let's unlock our tab. One of its features is called... Oh, it's incorporeal movement. Now, if I really wanted to, I could go and open... I mean, a lot of undead share this, don't they? So I could go into, I don't know, any shadow or wraith stat block elsewhere in Foundry, and you can drag features and spells and items from one actor to another. So I could go and do that if I really wanted to, but I can't be asked. It's time that I could spend using looking for nice. Yeah, I'm just picking things that don't even make sense here. Oh, didn't even name it. Incorporeal movement. At least there's not any other creatures in here, because the gelatinous cube has its own thing. Oh, I haven't done its HP. Or its AC. Its AC is 13. Its speed, actually, I didn't do its movement, did I? Its speed is 40 foot flying, which is classed as hover. And its HP, 40. There's also a tool in here. I mean, it says 40, but it also says 9d8. So if you really wanted to randomize, you could go, end up being 40. Oh, sorry, 36. So if I wanted to, I could have its total HP be 36. I'm just going to go with the average. Okay. Oh, this has quite a few features. So in its actions, got Maddening Touch. This is straightforward enough. Oh no, we need a nice Madden. We need a nice thing of someone shouting or screaming. I love all the yell. There's so many yelling. People screaming. That's maddening. He's going fucking crackers him. Let's have a look. So the details of this one are melee spell attack. This is an action. So one action. It is one creature. The range is 5 feet. Duration, not relevant. And it is a melee spell attack. Let's have a look. +6 to hit, that should come through automatically. If it hits, it is 4d3 plus 6 psychic damage. 4d6 plus 3 psychic. Whispers of Madness. Oh, this is a copy and paste job, this one. So this is one of those ones that's all things that are choose a number of people up to are really awkward to do in Foundry because you can't there's no accounting for automation in terms of you just going, oh, I want him, but not him because I've used turn on dead on that guy and he's fleeing, so I don't want to damage him. So this is one where you would just have to say, oh, here's what I want you to do, or manually target. So this is one where I actually probably wouldn't set any automation in Foundry because there's too many variables here. Because it's forcing movement of other players' reactions, and there's a lot of immunities. So I am just going to, I don't know what icon I'm going for here. That one. I use that for so many things because it's just so nondescript. So yeah, I'm going to say that's something that you would just click and then you would talk it out. Personally, that's what I do. And then we have an interesting feature now because I get to show you something I haven't shown you before. This one is Howling Babble. Don't know why I'm going with that one. This is an ability that has a recharge. So each creature within 30 foot, so each creature, that's good, because it doesn't discriminate. So this is an action. Target is 30-foot radius. Feet. Duration, fine. Action recharge. This recharges on a 6. It will start the combat charge. You'll notice when I click that, you'll see down here it says it's charged. If I untick it, it shows you it recharges on a 6. With, I think it's D&D 5e helpers or MIDI QOL. At the start of a creature's round, if they have something that needs to be charged, it will pop up and prompt you to roll the recharge. It's handy. This is other. There is a save involved, and it's a DC 14 Wisdom saving throw. If they fail it, they take 2d8 plus 3 psychic, and it is half on a save, so that's fine. I then might also put reminder versus stun. Okay. I then need to just quickly do my art. I don't think I have art for an Alec. So there is the Alep creature. This is going to be much quicker than the last one because I already had the art up on screen this time. Into the right folder, there is an Alep token. Let's have that set up. Let's download it. Let's go up. Save. I'm going to call it Alep token. Images, token, circle style, paste. So now in our Alep, I can go user data, images, creatures. The Alep is there. I can go into the token for the Alep. I can call it spirit. And I'm going to say tokens, circle style, Alep token. And there is our Alep. You can describe him as it starts. So in terms of I know there's a spirit that appears, the spirit of the old priest or whatever that appears here at the end. We have some chained skeletons, actually. There's skeletons of two priests, aren't there, up on the walls in here. Let's go. Items, assets, bones, modular humanoid skeletons. Do we have a decent skeleton to be someone hanging from the wall? Again, you might have your own assets on how you want to do this. I might say rotate 180. Have them like that to reflect them hanging down. I'm not going to sit here and vary all the different angles we could do our skeleton rotations at. It's up to you. You can put manacles on, but you can in some way reflect how you want them to be shown. What else do we want to do with this place? So I'm not going to cover in this video is sound effects, but mainly because I don't have any to hand, I don't think. Let me just quickly check my library to see if I have any sounds we could use appropriately for here. Got waterfalls, I've got caves, I've got cave ambience. I don't really think I have the sort of water dripping. I do actually. So I could say straight away when they start to get in here, we have things like, I want to be local. Oh, that's new. Darkness activation ranges. Sounds that only play at particular levels of sound, of light. That could be handy for having actually that could be really handy. I'm already thinking of my Valaki map. I have to manually toggle over the sound effect when I change it from day to night. I could now have both sounds running on it and just change it over. I'll be doing that after this video. Let's have a look. Sounds, ambient, and I think in here I have water drip and water drip echo. Now you'll see it's a local sound. It now doesn't, I don't want that. I want it to cut through the statue. You're still hearing it in the room, aren't you? So I'll move that in a little bit more. I'll turn my sound up, I think. Or turn the music down, maybe. Let's have a look. There we go. Quite under the music, but you can hear dripping. I could put sort of eerie ambience in. What else can we do in here? So, in terms of some spell effects, I've got lots of animated effects that I could put on. What I'd like to try out, I've not done this before, so this is pure test work as we're playing here. But in my assets library, if I go to modules, I've got JB2A. Now in here, they've got a lot of effects. And I'm wondering if some of these could work for us just for showing shimmering effects. Let's have a look. Where are we? I thought we had some environmental ones. we can use here. Let's have a look at smoke. Is there any thin smoke? Just to show you what these look like being dragged out. We can have light effects put on some of these. Oh, I'll pick the static one. So I'd like to use that, especially because you can hide it. So things like the Argynvostholt statue. Right, tell you what I'm going to do. So just scrolling through all that, we are going to lower the light, add an actor on. Where's our Harry Human? Now, Harry Human, let me just double check. So when my players are going into dark places, I like to make their vision 5 foot dim. Because we're in pitch black, if they're just human, why would we have any more than that? And then I'm going to see, he's got torches, I've got the torch module, so it'll burn through them, no pun intended. Let me just see what his default light effect is. Right, no, that hasn't done what I wanted there. Well, it's done it in terms of numbers, but I want it to be the blurred torch effect. And I would like it to be more authentic torch colours. With a high blur value, a low speed. Oh, good God, that's far too much. Just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to really turn this down. The colour intensity is very bright. What I like about the torch module is you can define this and then toggle it and it will remember it. So if I now press 2, because it's on my macro bar, I can now toggle those light settings off. So let's pretend I have some, in fact what I might do is, let me just go and add on a universal sound. Global, I would like, if I go back to my sounds menu, I saw I had one before, which was just called like creepy cave ambient or something. Let's go with this. Global sound. I want it to be bigger still. There we go. So let me kill my smooth jazz. And there's going to be a few things here that I talk about doing as I go, because I still didn't have time to set everything up I wanted to. Let me turn our light effect right down. Let me just check with FX Master while it's getting darker. Are there any weather controls? I don't think there's dripping water. There's a top-down rain. Do you know what? If we're having water dripping sounds everywhere, we could make... Let's see what that looks like. No, it's not coming down exactly how I would have liked there. But I'm sure with fiddling, we could get decent rain effects in a way we were happy with there, and use this very, very sparse rain to sort of reflect the dripping of water. So, let me just turn up my ambience. Just got its torch effect on. Those shadows, obviously, new low-level players are going to be very worried that there's, you know, monsters waiting around the corner, things jumping out and attacking. Now, what I've realised I need to fix is that sound effect. I think I have volume easing on. That's going to get louder and louder the further into the temple we go. obviously we could then... What I might do as well, in a live environment, if I make it daytime, because I may as well show you the things that modules can do as well if I make it daylight. The first time the players get here, you don't want to jump back when they see the ghost and go, oh, no. So I might, or attack before you can do anything. So I might go and say, I want to put a hay weight tile here. When they get onto the stairs, and they step on it, again, your players don't see this. I can't remember if mine is set to trigger or not for the DM. Well, let's head back as it gets darker. All right, so really, I probably want to move that to be just a little bit. There we go. We want it to be slightly high because we want it to trigger in the same step that the creature becomes visible, don't we? If I drag that up, I think we can change its state to be unpopped again. There we go. That was on me. There we go. So yeah, players don't see it. Oh, and then you can describe that first description of the alley. Goes, players can interact with those items. They can't see behind the temple. Those water dripping sounds are coming in. What I might like to do is if I do have a player who wanders out and you describe what it looks like you could swim down, they won't realise until they do it. They can pass through. You might, if you want to have like muffled water effect here, because this is all underwater, isn't it? This tunnel. So as they're moving through here, they're just hearing those muffled, close underwater swimming noises. You might have, if you use open soundboard, you might want to get find on YouTube sound of someone like breaking out of water, surfacing, so that you describe them coming out. You might want to have here. I've not got one. We could put a sound file here of heavier than dripping, like water running onto like a stone floor to kind of be, because we're only going to hear that if they've swum through the tunnel and are stood here, and then as they're getting out, all your players hear the sound of just water running onto the floor. We've got our water weird encounter, which if they have stolen from the sacrifice bowls or they touch the water in here, it comes to life and attacks. Let me take him back. Swim very quick. He does the necessary check to break through. I have a big iron gate sound here instead. I think if I remember rightly, something that annoys me about this map is I think that one of the levers is meant to be missing. You find it in another room. So I'd be tempted to just copy and paste a bit of floor tile and put it over to hide one of these. Locked and break through. Here's our dead guy on the floor. Might make him slightly larger, actually. Another room. And again, as you trigger, as the alec disappears from here, you could drag it off and put it in here. What I might actually like to do, this is only based on another video I've done recently, which is probably live now by the time I come to do this, is if I were to go, I'm going to be really lazy here and copy it from a player in my campaign who's already got it. If I were to get Bartandalis, now he's got Misty Step, and I've set something up. The Misty Steps look very cool. Let me add Misty Step onto this creature. I'm going to edit it to call it Disapparate. No. Spirit Fade. The alec fades away. Now, I'm going to go in and look at my spell. I'm going to remove the sound, because the sound is very loud. I'm going to say the range of this can be 200. I want it to be purple. Now, instead of dragging the token off and seeing it disappear through a wall, bear in mind this won't look as cool for you or us now as it will for your players. But let's say the players see the Alep here. Wait for the light to come back up. They experience that vision from it, and then you as a DM can describe how it disappears in a cloud of smoke. And click where it goes to next. And watch, don't look where I'm clicking, look at the Alep token here. Gone. Now, if I do that again, and again, so if you've watched my recent JB2A video, you've already seen this, but in case you didn't, it's worth showing you. This is a module called JB2A, I cover in another vid. You'll see that if I teleport from here to here, the token actually goes invisible and hidden, and then it becomes unhidden after the effect is cast. But because I hadn't unhidden it, it still shows as hidden. So that's something I think is very, very cool. Let's make it nighttime again. Transition to darkness. Where's my player gone? He's down here. So yeah, if he sets the trap off, I've got the notification here of what save they need to make and what roll. I could arguably make an actor of the trap, hide it, and target the players and force that save. I can unlock and progress through a dungeon. This is a nice big empty room, then described the gelatinous cube or the phase spiders. This other mysterious door that I still don't argue shouldn't exist. And our eventual room. Now I would like to change the sound in this room. I would, if I was doing this again, I would lower the range of the giant covers everything sound effect and move it so that there's a different sound effect in here, just more of a maybe less creepy and more just ominous or foreboding that you're in, like, you know, the final room and there's an RP encounter and the Alep will be waiting for you in here, obviously. There's a lot of other things we could do with this using modules. A lot more local sounds we could put in. You might decide it's a bit too dark. Maybe you want to just make things a bit more exciting. You might want to say, well, do you know what? I want it to be a bit more obvious to my players that there's something magic going on in this water. So we could make a light effect where we say, okay, I'm going to say 0 bright or 8 foot dim. I'm going to make the water a faint but light blue. And I want it to have, I think ghostly light is a good one. If I reduce the animation intensity, oh, that's a bit too much, isn't it? That's all right. No, I could make it a bit more. If we were to go in and just make the colour a bit more intense, maybe the animation slightly more intense, and coming in here, your players notice that the water is now shimmering. And same for Aurora effect. I like to overlap 2 different colours for things like this, because I think it does a very good job of making it look quite a bit more mysterious. And you could play it with, you know, a sound effect of overly, you know, unduly lapping water so players think someone's moving in it, and then surprise, it is the water itself. Yeah, that's it. The trap lever is in there, isn't it? I think that's what the whole trick with that is. So, I could spend a couple more hours on this, just tweaking and refining things, adding extra effects in. I could go and get localized water sounds in there. I could get my soundboard ready to play, you know, scraping stone sounds if people move the sarcophagi. I could get sounds to be played on soundboard of the poison dart trap being fired, of the smashing of wooden doors, because these doors are described as very, you know, horrid and old and rotten. Creaky stone gate sounds. I could get extra assets of the items that are meant to be in these bowls. I just hope really you found this useful as a complete starting from nothing, building it up. How long have we been going? An hour and a half? Seems decent. yeah, anything else you could do with this would just be more of the same. So there's no point in me doubling the length of a video for extra details of processing you've already seen. I hope you found it useful. Leave a comment. Let me, well, on YouTube, you can't Twitch at the moment. But yeah, leave a comment on my YouTube video. Let me know if you found it useful, and I'll